made a very decent beginning and with various schemes and incentives, including tax soaps, were introduced to create a very conducive ecosystem for the startups in India. So with this, I would like to start the panel discussion on startup. My first question is to Shivangi. Shivangi, what do you think about the tax break that has been offered by the government?
So if I talk about tax break, so there is a tax exemption of 7 years for the startups, and I think it helped the startup to earn profit because startup approach to earn profit in the first few years of operations, and secondly there is a tax exemption of 3 years because it was observed that in the first few years of starting the business, they earn profit in the initial 1,000 days.
Okay, so that is a very good step for the startups. But I would like to know from Shruti, do you have a different perspective on that, or do you agree with Shivangi?
See Shubham, the main aim of tax proposal by Mr. Jaitley was to give benefit to the startups and making India initiatives, because the startups and the small medium enterprises contributed a lot to the Indian economy and employed the maximum number of people. Okay, so like last year's budget, it gave a 100% tax reduction on startups for 3 years. This year also the budget gives the same tax reduction, but it had applied some few conditions under the 80 IAC Act. I like to explain a few conditions. These conditions were the startup should be eligible. Eligible here I mean that the startup should be new, innovative. It should be a new idea which should be started from the scratch. The second condition was it should hold a certificate from International Ministry Board, that is the IMB, and one of the most important conditions provided on them was the annual turnover should be up to 25 crores for 5 years, which starts from 1st April 2016 and from to 31st March 2021. Yeah, I think that is all which I think.
I certainly agree with you, Shruti, there, because if there is no constraints put by the government there, so any company can address itself as startup.
Most definitely, Shubham. There is one more point which I would like to highlight, that this company, like a company here I mean the startup, should not be a reconstruction of the existing company. It should be a full newly company which should have innovation, great ideas, and yeah, like you said, if there would be no constraints, no conditions applied on the same, every organization would start calling itself a startup, and they enjoy the benefits given by the budget.
So like it should be completely new. They cannot be like if a startup has been gone wrong and then again this join themselves as new startups. They cannot join again.
See, rejoining is a different matter, Shubham. I'm talking about the startup, the company itself. It should be new. It should be completely new. There should be no reconstruction or splitting of the business and like forming the diseased business or something like that. It should be completely new, and also there is an exemption given to them that 20% of the plant and machinery can be second hand, but the remaining 80% should be of their own. They should buy new machinery, because 20%, because buying 80% of the machinery from the other people, or you can say second hand machinery, would not really be called a startup business.
Okay, thank you, Shruti. That was very informative. So along with the tax break, there were some initiatives taken by the government on minimum alternative tax. They were extended from 10 years to 15 years. So Amar, I would like your perspective on that.
Sure. First of all, I would like to add what Shruti said, that startup company should be fresh, because somehow company was finding loopholes and presenting their exemption to and were not paying the taxes. So for that MAT was brought on, a minimum alternative tax. The company has to pay minimum alternative tax. and it's currently going at 80.5%. So our finance minister Ramon proposed an amendment to the section 115
So like 18.5% is like this year after the Indian budget.
no, it was there's no change in the
18.5. You want to say that? Okay.
and only the timeline has been increased from 10 years to 15 years to 20 years. Okay, apart from it, the market experts were expecting a reduction in the market reduction in the MAT rate, but eventually it didn't happen. But they are quite happy with the timeline which has been extended.
Okay, so they reduced the tax rate. In fact, instead they gave them relaxation for some years. Okay, they extended from 10 to 15 years.
Yes.
Okay, so they were expecting that they would reduce the tax rate from 18.5 on.
Yeah, they were
less.
expecting that government might even reduce the MAT rate, but they didn't. Even they, instead of that, they gave it a timeline for 5 years more.
So Vijay, same question to you. What's your state on this? You have a different perspective, or you completely agree with Aman?
Basically, I want to add one point. Rightly said you, Amar, that MAT is the minimum alternative tax which a company has to pay, which a company has to pay irrespective of its size and turnover. So in MAT, MAT is calculated on the basis of book profit. Book profit is a 20% of book profit. So book profit doesn't consider book profit is different from the net profit, because book profit doesn't consider exemption and rebate. So we are expecting more than this, but unfortunately government didn't do more than that.
So book profit, you mean the profit and loss, they show that the profit and loss statement. You mean by that?
Yeah, it differs from the net profit because it doesn't take consideration on exemption and rebate. All the
I agree with Vijay. Even by that, company used to find some kind of loopholes, and they used to show the other exemptions and the deductions which were provided by the government, and they used to claim themselves as no income. So they were not giving the taxes which they should have given. So for that purpose only, this MAT was
Extended from 10 to 15 years. Yeah, I've
no, it
been.
was even 18. For that purpose, MAT was introduced. Then
Okay, this was extended. Yeah, I have also seen the union budget this year. So we were made to sit in the class, and we saw that union budget. So it was also mentioned that there was 34% increase in the tax rate, but we are largely a non-compliant society. We don't pay taxes well. So yeah. So Avinash, what do you think about the relaxations in the carry forward process?
See, carry forward losses are those that basically show them like for this year's losses, net losses, net operating losses for being specific. They are carried forward to the next year's profit, and they are reduced from that, and so that we can earn profit later on, and these are exempted from the taxes. Okay, so earlier what it was like from earlier than this budget, that is from 2017 budget, it was that there was continuous holding of 51% in voting rights. That was necessary for each and every startup to be have 51% voting rights in their continuous holding for their what we say for that yeah. Okay, so voting rights, and then it was later on increased, and it has been reduced to that only the company's founders and other board members, they need to have the voting rights and continuous holding. That's it. No other person, no other shareholder need to have it. For the
I mean to understand, you mean to say carry forward losses are something that the net profiting that loss is shifted to the next year. They show that in the books that
basically show that carry forward losses are those that, for suppose we are running a startup here, okay, and this year we had some losses, net operating losses, and then we have moved them forward for the next year, and we have reduced those losses from the profits we earn in the next year. Basically we see it as a future scope, and for that future we reduce the losses which we had this year from the profits, and then the tax has to be paid. So
So we do it to reduce our tax liability, basically, you want to say.
The tax liability is reduced and we are liable to pay the taxes, but the thing is that we have a timeline of up to 7 years now, which was earlier I think 5 years, and that has been increased to 7 years, and now that the tax has to be paid after 7 years, and we can enjoy that tax holiday type of thing for up to 7 years. And after 7 years we need to pay that rebate on taxes.
Shivangi, do you happen to have a different perspective on what just Avinash shared?
Actually, it also creates future relief for the companies, and they are also valuable for them, so that they can minimize their losses. Whatever losses they have occurred in the present year, they will minimize it for the future.
Okay. So, I get your point there. So, moving on.
But Shubham, I think I differ on this. You said, Shivangi, that will minimize the profits on the later on, but that is, I think, valuable for that startup. No?
That's what I said. It is valuable for the startup.
It is valuable for the startup, and that will anyhow somehow benefit the
But
startup.
she said maybe not initially.
Not initially. I agree, not initially, but because see, initially it is beneficial, I think, as for the starting years when the startup struggle the most to strive into the market. That is the initial years of any startup.
That is the time
around 3
when
years.
startups need to be stabilized.
Yeah, when the startups need to be
That's
stabilized,
why-
they are not
that's why
thinking
they-
about profits, I think. They are not thinking about profits, they are only thinking about setting up the market.
Stabilizing the
stabilizing the
their
market.
That's
And
why
that
we have a
time-
tax exemption of 3 years as well.
3 years as well. Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, so moving on, my next question is to Shruti. So, despite the relaxations and various reliefs that the government has given in the union budget, we have been having a different perspective. Each one is having a different running thing with the union budget. So, do you think that people are satisfied with the union budget regarding startups, whatever the reliefs and whatever the relaxations they have given?
See, Shubham, everything has its own pros and cons, as you also know. This year's startup had, 50% was the ratios, in my opinion.